Okay. Welcome everyone. Thanks for coming today. If you're not driving, why don't you drop your name and your business in the chat while we are getting ready to get started?
Jill, I think we should get it started
Are
because
we ready? All right.
yes.
Okay, so good evening, everyone. Welcome to another wonderful webinar in our series for business owners. My name is Jillian Mullings. I'm the Secretary of the Board of the African American Chamber of Commerce. And tonight we have our wonderful tech guru who is going to be doing a presentation on social media and everything you need to know to market your business appropriately online in the 21st century. Just want to remind everybody, memberships are still open. You can go to our website at AACCHV is our tag on Instagram and Facebook. Our website is aacchudsonvalley.org, and you can look into our membership opportunities. Each new member will get free consultation time with some of our board members and other expertise from other members in our chamber for free. And you also get a lifetime listing in our directory. So I'm going to turn it over to Daneil, who is going to do a presentation for you tonight.
Thank you for that introduction, Jillian. Give me one moment to get the presentation up. So while I'm getting that up, why don't we put our names and what businesses we're representing tonight in the chat? Great. Can everyone see my screen?
Yes.
All right, awesome. So today we're going to be talking about social media 101 for business owners. So first we're just gonna do a quick welcome and introduction. I'll let you guys know who I am a little bit more. We're gonna talk about what exactly is social media, then the benefits for using it for your business. What does it mean to have a social media strategy? And then how do you actually build your growing and your following, and how do you measure your performance? And as a nice I have a starter pack that we'll talk through. If I was starting over with what I know with social media right now, if I could tell myself a couple years ago, this is how you should get ready for social media, this is what, well, it wouldn't have existed, but now you'll have a starter kit of like where to start now. So then we'll have a Q&A session. So first, my name is Daneil Chambers. I'm the founder and the CEO of Danni Studios. We're a marketing agency, marketing studio, whatever you want to call it. We do marketing, so we help people out with figuring out how to set up their systems. Are like meaning if you just are trying to just get your event, your product, different services out there, we help you to create a system that you can measure and that you can make sure that it actually works by testing it. And we also create different digital marketing things like websites. We do social media, we create funnels, but our main service right now is a fractional chief marketing officer business, where we help small businesses and medium-sized enterprises to really get all, as I said, their systems in place so that they can have all the things that they need to succeed. So today we're talking about social media. I have a master's in marketing. Social media is one of our newest things. When I remember starting off like my journey as a social media marketer, not really even knowing that I was doing that. So I figured out batch creating at about like 12 or 13. They had that scheduling feature, and I might be lying on the age. It was somewhere in my teens. I just like put together all of these like contents on PowerPoint because that's where I used to design before I learned Photoshop and all that stuff. So I used to put all the different quotes on there, and then I would put motivational Monday, and then I put them by date, and I organized them into a folder, and then I uploaded them. And that's how I started batch creating social media content. So what is social media? Social media is a form of electronic communication, such as websites or social networking and microblogging, and like posting. That's what it's called, posting, through which users create online communities. And I highlight communities because a lot of times people take the social out of social media and they forget that you should be having a conversation. So online communities to share information, ideas, personal messages, and other content such as videos. So what are some of the social media platforms you're familiar with? You can either just shout it out, put it in the chat. Let's like talk. What are the social media platforms you're most familiar with right now?
Instagram, Facebook, TikTok.
Yep, those are some of them. YouTube, we got what else? We got WeChat, we got WhatsApp. Anyone else? Come on, don't be shy. We're talking today. This is a talking workshop.
It's so funny. I'm not used to thinking of WhatsApp as a social media, but it definitely is, right?
Yep, it definitely is. You can create communities on there. People are running their whole business through WhatsApp. It's pretty epic. I'm gonna get you guys to talk, so I'm gonna move on to the next thing, but you're not safe. I'm gonna be asking you to at least put in the chat. So last year, most people were spending their time on YouTube with 23 hours. Where it was the average time per month that people were spending time based on data from Android users. Then came in Facebook, WhatsApp, we had Instagram, TikTok, Messenger, you got Telegram, Twitter, Line. So most important thing I would take away from this is that YouTube is still kicking it after all these years. Um, I found these graphs very interesting because when you're thinking of social media, you have to know where your target audience is. So first, looking at the active users. So a lot of people are saying go into YouTube. I would agree with them because you can use it it's so versatile that you can actually implement it into your sales process or implement it into how you do business and how you answer like customer objections. So that's why I would suggest YouTube as a really strong place to start off with your business, although it does take work to make those videos. Then there was the Chrome browser, Google, people on Facebook, WhatsApp, Google Maps. You can see this, like I can share this after, but the most important thing to take away from this graphic is kind of just looking at the top threes here. So total time spent, the people are spending a lot of time on YouTube, as I said, Facebook, and WhatsApp. Then you have in downloads TikTok, Instagram, and Facebook. And not surprising, TikTok has taken over the consumer spend. People are spending money off of YouTube. Affiliate marketing is at an all-time high. And then I didn't expect people to spend that much on Disney Plus, but Disney Plus, people are looking for love, on Tinder, Google One, all of these things. So these are where people are spending the most money. And I understand also why Duolingo is making its way up on this. I have a 300 and something day streak on Duolingo and the way that they're gamifying things. I can definitely see why they're encouraging people to actually spend money on their app. Next is these two graphs are kind of identical. So I'm just going to show that, it didn't really change that much from last year to this year. So Facebook is still on top with the most active users, which again, what is active? Because how are they collecting this data? But at the same time, it's good to know where people are kind of like lying. So you have the Facebook, YouTube, WhatsApp, Instagram, TikTok, WeChat, and the list goes on. I brought all of this data in just to kind of give you some perspective of where people are going. And then the last graph that I thought was very, I mean, I'll say last. Yes, the last graph that I would like you guys to keep in mind is TikTok. On here, like looking at how TikTok has kind of taken over the time spent. They're at the highest 34 hours per month in 2024. So, YouTube was high, but then TikTok suddenly came out of nowhere with their short form content and they're just taking over. So I say all of this to talk about the trends that we're experiencing today. So brands are still increasingly human. So corporate social responsibility, this is marketing in general. So this is very coming from a very wide standpoint. Brands, companies, all that things, all of those words are very interchangeable. A person can be a company, a brand can be a company, a brand can be a person, all these things. But long story short, instead of this very callous outlook on things, there's a more human approach being taken in because you know what, we're human. So we're actually leaning into what it really means to be in community and what we have to do to make this world better. So I'm pretty like happy about that being a trend. AI has become very mainstream. I'm pretty sure all of you have heard of ChatGPT by now, for example, or Bard or Gemini, all these different tools that are very open right now. You have community building is still coming up because as you look back at social media, it's about community. All these like the things that are being underpinned for social media is about how do we get more people connected and talking about the different issues or different, you know, different problems we're having as a society. So there's like a very strong dialogue being encouraged there. Multi-level sensory content, meaning to getting people engaged on different levels from like the video content, the sounds, being more creative in how to actually get people more engaged with content that is becoming and has been since last year one of the major trends that I'm seeing. Bending reality with tech, you see a lot of like AR, like augmented reality. You see a lot of different ways, QR codes, people are, technology is being integrated into our lives more and more, wearable technology. Just thinking about how we can, as social media marketers, kind of get people to, be interacting with tech more. Next trend that I'm seeing is that video content is still king, but the long form is becoming more valuable. As you can see with, well, maybe you can't see. I don't know if you know this, but in TikTok right now, people are being rewarded pretty much if they're posting videos that are over a minute long. So it's like once you get hit the monetization level, you're getting rewarded for putting out longer form content that is holding people's attention. So before it was short form, let's do this, you're gonna get rewarded. But now long form is kind of making its way back into the the scheme right now because people, while we do have the short attention span, that's why I kind of think that TikTok has taken this new position in like being one of the most used social media apps. Um it's because one, video is still important, but then also people are craving more than just the tip of the iceberg. So the short form, short attention span, I'm predicting that it's going to be changing. So as you can see with YouTube, it's still that long form content, it still is what's getting people to be monetized. And then TikTok is coming up with their availability there to get people to consumers more into buying stuff and getting consumers to be very, engaged, as I was saying. Web3, I can talk about this all day, so I'm gonna be very short on this one. But Web3 is pretty much, I can share with everyone after like a resource to learn more about what exactly Web3 is, but it goes back into this whole idea of like what do we really own? And it's going back into the idea of like bank ledgers and like how, you know, we have ownership in technology. So as you know, with social media, you don't necessarily own your followers, you don't own the content. As we experienced last week, you can literally lose access to Instagram or Facebook, just like that. It just, the server could just be down and then you'll never see your followers again. But Web3 is that ownership and what, the whole blockchain and all these different things that is still growing. There's different social networks being formed that are like favoring this over just the algorithm that controls everything. The next trend I'm noticing is that less is more. People just want genuine content. People want to have quality over quantity. So it's not about posting every day anymore. It's about what is the quality I'm getting when I go to this profile and how am I being engaged. The next thing I've already kind of touched on, but it's the social commerce is at a new level. So with TikTok adding the store in and different functionality, for example, people have more, there's so much opportunity for brand ambassadorship and also for affiliate marketing. And so also just like social selling is just at a different level at this point. And last trend that I'm noticing is SEO is for social media now, meaning you don't just have to optimize your website, you have to optimize also your social media for searchability because people are literally using TikTok, Instagram, all these different platforms to actually do search and research. So you have to know what people are looking for in order to optimize them finding your content. So I've talked a lot, but I'm gonna just touch on a couple more data points and I'll just pause real quick actually to see if there are any questions so far about the trends that I've highlighted so far. And by no all means, this is not the only trends that are there. These are just trends that I've noticed are very important and related back to a business conversation. Okay, so if there's no questions, and again, feel free to put anything in the chat as we're discussing this. So
I have a question if I could jump in, or should I put it in the chat?
absolutely, you can jump in.
For businesses to see a real return on investment, I know repetitiveness is key. How effective are ads on buying ads on social media?
Well, what do you mean by repetitive?
Frequency, seeing it a lot, in
Mhm.
order for a customer to take action, do what's called a call to action, they need to see it a lot, at least from my world, which is more so radio and or television. From a social media perspective, in order for the the business who is taking the time maybe to buy ads on social media, how effective is it? How often, like, I just want to get an idea from your perspective on, how maybe big your budget needs to be, how often should it run, if you can answer that.
So I can answer it very generally because it really depends on your business type. So, and also how you're actually positioning the call to action. So sometimes that brand recognition does actually pay off. And I've seen it with different clients, like them having the like boosting their social media has brought their reach from like 500 to like 5,000 with just like a couple like not even less than $100. They've boosted the way that the algorithm is picking them up. So it has benefits to do the boosting, but it is, and this is just because probably also I have a bias to the fact that I prefer organic because it is just going to pay itself off. So when you invest into those relationships and leveraging different like ways of just like DMing people, all the people are connected to your business, creating group chats with fellow business owners that is like sharing your what you're working on, or your broadcasting network, having like for example on Instagram how you can like message a list of people who sign up for your information. I think like it depends again based on what the business is. If it's just like a baseline, you just need people to see it in order for them to convert, then that totally works. But if your business is more on the lines of you're building up your thought leadership, you're building up just like your positioning, and you're trying to get people to know who you are, then you might go broke trying to literally just buy their attention. And that's why this is going back more to like the marketing concept of like the paid, owned, earned. I feel like I'm forgetting it's paid, owned, earned, and oh no, I feel like I'm forgetting it. So it's I'll put if I remember the last one. There's like a fourth one, I feel like. But pretty much there's like a how your media and your brand is like represented online. It's like a Venn diagram, right? So it's like all of those different mixes of the content types is what builds up your brand positioning and your brand recognition. So again, it just really depends on how much budget the company has, which most people are not, most companies don't really have a budget for ads. But also, do they have the time to build up that organic relationships? It's really just, again, like it depends on intention and what the expected outcomes are. And sometimes it might be faster to do the ads, and other times it might actually just be faster to do something that's unexpected to gather the attention from a different like perspective. As you like, a lot of brands are being really edgy nowadays. Like you see the Duolingo bird, he's acting up, like, he's just doing his own thing. Like these brand personalities are really like coming to life, and people are really testing the boundaries of like what can a brand do and what can't a brand do. But thank you for your question. Did that answer what answer it?
Yes, it did. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. Any other questions? All right, so we're gonna move back into these beautiful graphs. I love them. So I brought this into the dialogue because social media is just one part of digital strategy. So one of the things that people are noticing right now is like, you see this, first of all, is like to what extent have processes been automated? As you can see here, the darker it is, the more people are like automating this stuff. So you can see a lot of things have been like more than 50% of most of these different processes have been automated. So people are finding ways to cut down manual labor, and I would suggest you do that too. This is not a workshop on how to do that, but this is just something I feel like it's important to think of when you're working even with the social media, or building out your first strategy, or building out your 1500 strategy. It's about looking at what is the outcome, and also seeing how you can minimize, outputs of like, your money and your time. If it can be automated, it probably should be. um People, again, touching back on the AI conversation, people are noticing about when things are affected, like being generated by AI, and some people are not so happy about it, but some people actually really cannot tell if something is actually created by AI, because it's becoming harder and harder for that. So this breaks it down by the different generations, and I thought it was really interesting because it's like the older folks are kind of just like, I'm not gonna work with this AI. Like, I don't care if this AI created that. I don't want to engage with it. When it's like, also, I understand the skepticism, but it's like, let's really talk about AI. It's like all just data. And it's like, you know, the fact that ChatGPT is kind of like a calculator for words is how I kind of frame it. It's like all of these different things. It's really purpose, right? And it's also just like I have been thinking about just the fact that this whole AI, like how people are using AI, because AI should be paired with a human manager. It's not just supposed to stand on its own. It's supposed to make your job easier, but you're supposed to already be good at your job or like whatever you're working on. So it's not in any way supposed to replace humans. So the fact that this kind of skepticism also exists, it's like, hmm, it's like that means it's kind of like top of mind. Um, but also how many people really know, how like how hard it is to tell if something was created with AI. It's like all of these numbers are so close together, it just tells me just that people are skeptical about it, but they don't really know enough about AI to be able to, really distinguish if it's real or fake, for example, or they they're like less trusting of these things, but they can't tell. So I brought this into the discussion just because I wanted to highlight that, as like there are some people that feel like AI is unethical, or there, but I mean there are unethical applications, but I just wanted to bring this to the forefront if you are having skepticism of implementing AI into your stock for your social media marketing, or even just your business in general. I think you should give it a try if you haven't, and just also be ethical about it. So kind of actually touching back on what Hanif just brought up is like, what is the ROI? A lot of people used to, when you start a business, you gotta claim all of the profiles on all of the platforms because someone's gonna take your name. Now people are actually doing less of that because it's like, one, it's better to have a campaign that goes really well and you grow on one platform, then you grow on next, and this is really ideal. But realistically, most businesses are like trying to run at least like 3 to 5 different social medias at once, and they're not really capturing any of the points of like how to actually make that work for them. So here is like a breakdown. This is from Hootsuite, one of the social media management tools that you can use. So the question here is like, which of the following issues do you think contribute to the organization's concern about ROI for social media activities? And one of them, the highest one, was the time and budget to maintain, uncertainty about the accuracy of campaign success metrics, um, uncertainty about attributions, unsatisfactory connection between social metrics and business metrics, because realistically it's like a lot of businesses probably aren't utilizing the social media properly because they're just posting the same thing over and over again and expecting different results, which is literally the definition of insanity based on Einstein. So a lot of people are not embodying this sense of being a scientist when it comes to testing out their social media and looking for the engagement. So it's like a lot of times people, one, overcomplicate social media, and then two, they're not having fun with it. So it's like, how are your customers going to be engaged by the content if you're not? Do you want to read your blog post? Would you read your blog post? If you wouldn't, then don't post it. Like, it's just kind of like looking at it like that, like how to bring the humanity back into these things that we're doing. So all of these concerns about ROI, but it's like realistically speaking, you if you have a good strategy and you know what you're looking for to measure, then you kind of cut out all of these like issues that are here. So moving on to more details on.
Well, before you move on, Daneil,
Mhm.
you said something really good. Um, like, how does one design a social media strategy, and is it different for the different platforms that you're on?
Oh yeah, absolutely. And we're gonna actually dive more into that.
Okay.
Like I have a simple like 5 step, but it's kind of like a little bit more in depth than that. And it does really vary based on what your business outcomes are. Nia, did you have something to say?
I did, but you kind of answered it when you said we're gonna dive in. I was gonna ask questions based off of social media, but I'll just wait.
Okay. So getting through these stats real quick. So average person is on 7 different social media. This is important to think about as a business owner because it's like that means that their time is split up across all these different platforms, but you still have to pick the one that's going to work the best for your business and align with your target audience. Next is 58% of marketers feel like the pace at which networks release new user and advertising features makes it hard to keep up. And absolutely, a couple years ago it was Instagram. They had Instagram IGTV, then it was Reels, then it's like Reels are doing better. No, let's do carousels. Like, no, it's this, no, it's story. Like there's just so much like different things going on. How do you become a master of all of the social media? It's kind of hard. But it's not impossible. Like again, but it also depends on how much you're going to invest into that. So um this is the way that platform people are leaving, like these, people are leaving WhatsApp, Pinterest, Twitter, some people are leaving Facebook. That engagement, if you're a business, it's not great. um I mean, honestly, I understand why Snapchat and this, because Snapchat and YouTube aren't really moving. Snapchat's been very consistent, and their new functionalities, I think, just like balances out. But Instagram's trying to steal Snapchat Snap Map, just a little bit of like a heads up, so like you can see where people are, which also really helps our local businesses. So, but it's gonna be a competitive like thing going on. People are going on LinkedIn, and it makes sense that TikTok is seeing this huge growth right here. Um, so I'm sorry. I think we've actually covered it quite a lot, but it's like, what are some of the benefits of this? I feel like we should come back to this question after I go through the social media like strategy. So social media strategy is pretty much making a plan. How are you gonna actually approach this? And it needs to be done with intentionality. So it just means like don't just post to post. It's not your personal page. It's not like you're just doing it for fun. It needs to have like an objective and goal. So one, it's what is the objective or goal? An example of that could be I want to engage with people who are in my target audience to do consumer research, or I need to find leads for this, and I know that my target audience is on Instagram, so I need to like reach out to them with this engaging content. It needs to be clear what you're trying to do on there, and pretty much like some of the additional options for like what you can do on social media is like, connect, research, create events, create opportunity for people to engage in an online discussion. And then from there, it's like, you gotta start, like, you go on there, but these two steps are actually, one and two actually go hand in hand, because it's kind of like when you're setting these goals, is the who and the what and the why, and like what you're doing on there, you gotta figure that out first. Then you choose the platform. So you're like, oh, I want to target Gen Z. Okay, if you want to target Gen Z, then you need to go on TikTok, or you need to go on Instagram. It just depends on, you can look up the graphs of like where the active users, what age group, where they're from, all these different things, and you can see, because the numbers I provided earlier are worldwide, but it's like, all right, where do the Gen Zers in New York go for their information? And you'll find that they probably hang out on TikTok, because if you look on there, like how the engagement rates of everything, you'll see all of a lot of stuff in New York, and you'll see a lot of travelers and all these different things. So then content strategy is then like, what are you going to post to then engage these people? So how often, is it going to be funny? Is it going to be serious? Is it educational? Is it a mix? Because for me, I still go with the 80/20 strategy, content strategy, which is 80% of your material should be enriching and adding value to your customer, and only 20% of what you post should be promotional. It's a good look if you post it's 5 days in a week, you post 4 times, that is gonna educate and make them feel better. On Friday, you could post your deal. Oh, I'll take 50% off. Or if you are trying to do a little bit of both, you put your offers strategically alongside those contents that are enriching your audience. And that way they don't just feel like you're selling to them. The next thing is like your content. Once you've picked your content strategy, how you're going to deliver that. Is it going to be images? Is it going to be videos? Is it going to be infographics? Is it going to be a blog? Like, what is it that you're trying to like do to engage the audience, but like on a more visual level? And then the next thing is learning how to create your consistency. Once you test out all the different types of things, that you're going to go through, you would then start to see, okay, my audience seems to like when I post the reel about, funny reels about this problem they're having. So we're going to just make funny reels about this and like other things and keep testing it and refining it. And then you're going to just implement those wins across platform. So this is how you would, I know this is sounding very like, oh, it's so easy, it's so fun. I know it's grueling. It's a lot of work to figure this stuff out. So I'm not just saying this as in like, oh, just do it. It's like super easy. This is why I was saying the intentionality is needed. And you have to go through a lot of testing and you're gonna go through failure. Or you might like find instant success, but either way, it's like you have to go through the testing process to know what works and doesn't work. I'll pause here before I move on to see if there's any questions regarding the social media strategy.
I can testify to that. A lot of trial and error.
Absolutely.
I do have a question. So I know like you're saying like don't go across like or try to be on all platforms like Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, whatever. But because Facebook and Instagram, they're connected. So that really counts as one. But if I'm trying to change or target a certain audience, like I know TikTok is, and I don't want to say for like the younger generation because there's other people on there, but if I'm trying to capture a certain audience, do you, because I know TikTok is like playful, but Facebook is considered like the serious place, the serious social media. Do you think that it is just playing it safe if I just stay on Facebook? And because there's not a lot of people on Facebook anymore, like it's like Facebook is what you use like so your family sees you, like you're not really trying to target like a niche of like the younger generation. But with TikTok, it feels like a lot of people do these creative ideas. But if I'm only on Facebook and now I want to change the whole aesthetic, wouldn't I want to be on TikTok and not just
Well, thank you
Facebook?
for the question. I think it depends, right? So it's like if your target audience is on TikTok, then you would prioritize going on TikTok. It really depends on what your strategy is. And it's not to say like you can't be on multiple social media at once. It's just you pick one that you're focusing your type of content on. So for example, when I was fundraising for a community group, they have the most followers on Instagram, and they're both their potential and their fundraising client, like fundraising potential donors, they were all on Instagram. So while we were posting on Facebook, LinkedIn, and we were starting to go onto TikTok, we prioritized Instagram as our main social media while we were doing the testing process and figuring out like our ideal clients, like our ideal like who we're talking to. So it's like you could be on the other social media, but it's again like what are you prioritizing? And like how are you spending your time on that? Because I like even though like some of my clients are predominantly on like Instagram, Facebook, I still do my research on TikTok because of, just as you were saying, like the different ideas. And also you'll see there's like a crossover between TikTok and um like Instagram content being very similar. So it really just depends on what you're prioritizing and then what you have the capacity to do. So if you have a team, like, you can on your social media support or your marketing support, and you can have multiple people, whether it be interns or being actual like, people on your team that are doing this research, then you could stretch yourself and do multiple, platforms at once. But again, I think it's just best practice just to, if you're at least at the start of like figuring out what is my brand voice, how do I articulate these different things? So that's the testing I'm talking about. It's like, testing out if people are receptive to what you're saying, how are they engaging with the content. What do you want them, how do you want them to engage versus how they're engaging, two different things. And then just looking at that from there, like, do you want to continue to invest into Facebook, for example? Yes, it's connected, but you're getting probably like 1 to 2 engagement, let's say
Right.
like that's the case. Do you really want to keep posting on Facebook just to post? Or do you minimize the amount of posts, or do you just like cut Facebook out completely? It really depends on, what your brand objective is. A lot of people I've like worked with, if they're not posting actively on a social media, they'll still post like once a week the same content that they're posting on other social media, just so that it's active.
Mm.
So again, it really depends on what you're trying to do and like what the business outcome you want from that.
Hmm. And do you think like time plays a factor, like the time that you're posting?
Yes. So
Mm.
it's like when it's more likely that like the number of active users. So for example, I use later.com. So after I believe over 100 posts or like a certain number of like followers, it'll give you intel on when your active users are on and when people are most likely to interact with your content. Facebook Meta Business also does that for Facebook and Instagram. Um, but yeah, like I think it's not, I don't use those like articles that are like, oh, the best time to post is 12 p.m. Like no one knows because everyone's algorithm is built different. Like everyone has different people using their stuff, and it's like you start to notice like as you're like working with your algorithm, like when, I know when I post at 3 a.m., no one's gonna see my stuff. But if I post on like a Friday evening or like a certain time when I know like my target, like, on my personal, for example, there's like majority of my followers are 25 to like 30. So I know, although like they'll be active at this like certain point, and like on Instagram and Facebook, you can see um when your users are more active by the date and the hours. I will start with that data if I could. As for everything else, it's like you just test different times and then you'll figure it out on your own of like what times are gonna work best with your audience. But I think it is pretty important to look at that. It's just like you can't just go off of what the internet says.
Okay, thank you. That works.
No, on the webinar.
Um, it's
Please
so-
make sure that you are muted.
yeah. Okay. Any other questions? And for some reason, I can't put my hand up. Uh, so yes. So I'm gonna go here. So, oops, building and growing your social media presence. So your bio, a lot of people don't talk about it, but put some effort into your profile and your bio so that you are being represented and your brand is being represented to the best ability as possible. Next, you want to build community. So what does that mean? You have to be consistent. You gotta like talk to people, engage with accounts, talk to other people in your sphere of influence, talk to people that are doing, similar careers, doing similar things, or like, related, talking to your followers, interacting with content, that all that good stuff. Next, use hashtags and keywords effectively. People argue about this all the time. Do I put 3 hashtags? Do I put 10? It's up to you. You'll test it out, you'll figure it out. Um, and I say that because, for example, on Instagram, what works on Instagram doesn't work on all platforms. And again, it's what is your outcome. So for example, if you're trying to get it so that all your information is all aligned into one hashtag, then just use one hashtag. If you're trying to get people to search it, then you have to be intentional with how you look it up. Like pretend to be your client or your ideal target audience, and think about how would they, if they had a problem, how would they look it up? that's how you'll figure out how to use your keywords, and that's the baseline of SEO right there. It's like, what are people searching for? Next, as I said, engage with the audience. That underpins all of that. And then leverage user-generated content. Have your clients record videos and post it to their page and tag you. Have people create content related, like, do user-generated content competitions. What does that mean? It's like, think of, like, let's say I'm a headphone company, right? And I'm like, oh, hey followers, tell me how you use your headphones on a daily basis. And then people would then share, oh, I wear my headphones on the subway. This is me wearing my headphones on the subway. And then that's it. That's user-generated content. It's very simple. It's like influencer marketing, but it's usually more prompted for them to enter a competition, for them, it happens organically. One of my favorite coffee shops, they grew their following so quickly because you know what they do? They repost everyone's story when they post that they're there. And you know what? People like to post and feel, thanked for their time. I know I personally do, and I keep reposting their coffee shop because I love their coffee. And then you know what? They repost my stuff. So I continue to do it for the clout. Um, and then the last thing really is, how do you analyze the metrics? One of the, like, some of the key things to measure would be like your engagement rate, your reach, meaning like how many people are you accessing, conversion rates, are people clicking on your bio once they like get this information, like with this post, what led them back to your bio, all these different things. And then looking in your niche, like how much engagement do people really have? Because different companies, different industries have different engagement rates. I wish I could go more into details on this, but it's like you just have to look it up and see how is social media performing in your industry. And then from there, if you're getting 3 likes on your post and you're only getting 4 people seeing it and you're spending 4 hours to make your post, then probably stop doing that post. Like, those are the types of strategies that I'm talking about. Looking at effectiveness, looking at what is the most low cost activities. Is it just that you just need to go on the camera and be like, hey, like for example, with my business, I don't necessarily have to do social media to promote myself because I work primarily off of referrals. But for me, I want to build out more community, meaning like I want to educate more people about marketing. So now you're gonna see me taking the selfie, like being here like, hey, I'm here, I do this, and I'm going to be talking to my audience and learning what kind of information they want. And I'm going to be testing it. I'm going to be doing all this stuff for myself that I normally do for my clients. But it does usually, it just takes a lot of energy to do social media. So again, it's something that I get paid to do that. And I don't do it for myself because it is hard. And it is something that, you can form community, reach out to friends, ask for help. This is not a solo journey. And have fun with it is my major advice. Um, so in the interest of time, I'm just gonna skip to my starter kit and then leave the floor open for questions. So this is my starter kit. I recently added this one. So today, actually, after this event, um, is posted up on YouTube, I'm just going to literally put it in this AI, and it's going to cut up the video for me and then tell me what keywords are most trending based on what was talked about in um the event, and then it's going to suggest different clips. It's going to do it based on the social media. It's going to suggest captions. And you know what? It's only $49 a month, and you get 3.3 hours of doing that, cutting up the videos. Meanwhile, you'll probably pay someone like 150 to 200 to cut up your social media at like a minimum. That's on a cheaper end, right? So $49, cut up your content, make your long form content, and make your life a lot easier. You could get, like, I took a 5-minute video as my tester, and it broke up 8 different videos from just a 5-minute video. So imagine an hour of content. So easy. You don't want to pay for that. Canva is free. It's amazing. You could cut up the video on there. You can add audio. You can get all the different things. You don't know how to use it? Don't worry. There's templates. Don't worry. There's mad instructions online. So that's like not a problem. Chat GPT, get to know him. That's my bestie. You can have him write your emails, have him write your contracts. This tool is everything. People argue that Bard's better. I like ChatGPT because of all the capabilities of making your own GPTs. These are my two social media planner. Well, these are all social media planners, but I use Later primarily, but I love Cloud Campaign because it allows you to do what they call drip content really easy, meaning like you just batch put it up and then it just lets it out on like a day. Let's say the weather is a certain way. This tool is epic. It's just that it's like less cost effective than Later, but it's still my preferred social media management tool. And then Meta for Business, it's free, so I had to include it. So with that said, I'm gonna open the floor up for any questions or any comments. And thank you guys for listening and participating.
So you pretty much answered my question with the social media. So that worked for me. So thank you. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thanks for the great info, Daneil.
Thank you.
Are there any other questions on the floor? Any comments? Well, that being said, I would like to first thank Daneil for giving this wonderful presentation. She's actually my marketing manager. So great job. I want to thank everyone for showing up. We appreciate all of our viewers. We hope that you become members at some point in time. We appreciate your time this evening and have a great evening.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.
Night.